Walk down Fifth Avenue today between 51st and 96th Streets, and your tour guide will point to glass skyscrapers, luxury retail stores, and modern apartment buildings. They'll mention that this was once called Millionaire's Row. What they won't tell you is why every single palace that stood here is gone, except two. Picture Fifth Avenue in 1905, not the shopping destination you know today. Imagine instead a 3-mile stretch of competing French chateaux, Italian Renaissance palaces, and Gothic mansions, each one trying to outdo the next. Cornelius Vanderbilt II's mansion at 57th Street, 137 rooms occupying an entire city block. William K. Vanderbilt's French Renaissance chateau at 52nd Street. Caroline Astor's ballroom that could hold exactly 400 people. The 400, as she called them, because that's how many people mattered in New York society. Between 1880 and 1910, America's wealthiest families spent over $150 million building approximately 40 mansions along this stretch. That's over $4.5 billion in today's money. By 1930, less than 20 years later, nearly all of them were gone, demolished, torn down by the very families who built them. In 1927, Alice Vanderbilt stood in the ballroom of the largest private home ever built in Manhattan and made a decision that would erase her family's monument from the city forever. The tour guides won't tell you why. They won't tell you about the 19 workers who died building these palaces. They won't mention the servant who jumped from a 5th-floor window. They won't discuss the quiet agreement between the city's richest families to destroy their own legacy. October 1927. Demolition begins on Cornelius Vanderbilt II mansion. Autumn in Manhattan, the wrecking balls swinging, 137 rooms being reduced to rubble, carved marble fireplaces sold for $50. This is the story of the greatest concentration of wealth in American history, built in 30 years, destroyed in 30 more, and why almost no one wanted to remember. May 27th, 1794, Staten Island, New York. Cornelius Vanderbilt is born into a poor Dutch farming family, 6th of 9 children. At age 16, he borrows $100 from his mother to buy a ferry boat. His first fortune comes from running Staten Island ferry service during the War of 1812. The hunger begins here, watching New York's elite from the water, ferrying them while they ignore him. Cornelius Vanderbilt, age 35, worth maybe $30,000, watches a steamboat race. He sees the future, steam power, speed, monopoly. Within 10 years, he controls most steamship traffic on the Hudson River. By 1846, he's worth $1.2 million, roughly $45 million today. The old Knickerbocker families, the Roosevelts, the Stuyvesants, still won't let him through their doors. Cornelius is 69 years old. The Civil War is raging. He sells his steamship empire and buys railroads. The New York Central, the Hudson River Railroad. By the time he dies in 1877, he's worth $105 million, more than the U.S. Treasury held in reserve. That's approximately $2.7 billion today. He's the richest American who ever lived to that point. But here's what shaped his children. The Commodore died having never been accepted by New York society. Caroline Astor, the Mrs. Astor, never invited him to her balls. The old families called him vulgar. When he died, he left almost everything to one son, William Henry Vanderbilt, with a message: make them pay attention. Meanwhile, the Astors had already solved this problem. John Jacob Astor I, German immigrant and fur trader, died in 1848 worth $20 million, roughly $700 million today. His grandson, William Backhouse Astor Jr., married Caroline Webster Schermerhorn in 1853. Old Dutch money marrying new fur trade money. By the 1870s, Caroline Astor was New York society. Her ballroom held 400 people. If you weren't one of them, you didn't exist. William Henry Vanderbilt inherited his father's fortune in 1877. He doubled it to $200 million in 9 years. But money wasn't enough. His children, Cornelius II, William K., Frederick, George, grew up wealthy but socially invisible. William K.'s wife, Alva, daughter of a bankrupt cotton merchant, understood something. You can't buy acceptance, but you can build it. William K. Vanderbilt begins buying land on Fifth Avenue, not downtown where the Commodore had lived, uptown where the old families hadn't yet built. The plan: if they won't let us into their houses, we'll build palaces so magnificent they'll have to come to ours. It would cost millions. It would employ thousands. Some of them would die building it, and within 50 years, it would all be gone. William Henry Vanderbilt didn't just inherit, he expanded. Between 1877 and 1885, he consolidated control over 13 railroad lines connecting New York to Chicago and beyond. The New York Central Railroad became the spine of American commerce. Freight rates, passenger tickets, mail contracts, everything moved on Vanderbilt rails. Daily revenue, $250,000, approximately $7.5 million today. Annual profit, $12 to $15 million, $360 to $450 million today. Miles of track controlled, over 4,500 miles by 1883. Employees, approximately 35,000 workers. Ruthless efficiency. William Henry famously said, "The public be damned. I'm working for my stockholders." When rail workers struck for better wages in 1877, he broke the strike with replacement workers and Pinkerton guards. When competing lines tried to challenge his routes, he undercut their prices until they sold to him at bankruptcy rates. When questioned about safety, 73 workers died on Vanderbilt lines in 1882 alone. He argued that accidents were the cost of progress. Andrew Carnegie was building his steel empire in Pittsburgh, the very steel that Vanderbilt's railroads transported. Henry Clay Frick was supplying the coke for Carnegie's furnaces. J.P. Morgan was financing both of them. John D. Rockefeller was shipping oil on their tracks. They weren't competitors exactly. They were an interlocking system of monopoly power, and they all needed to show the world what that power meant. What they did was legal, barely. The Sherman Antitrust Act wouldn't pass until 1890. Before that, there were no rules against monopolies, price fixing, or crushing competition. The Interstate Commerce Act of 1887 tried to regulate railroads, but enforcement was weak. The Vanderbilts operated in a legal gray zone where immense wealth bought political influence, and political influence protected the wealth. William K. Vanderbilt buys a plot at 665th Avenue, corner of 52nd Street. Cost: $350,000, roughly $10.5 million today. His neighbors are horrified. Fifth Avenue north of 42nd Street is still residential, quiet, refined. The Vanderbilts represent new money, railroad money, vulgar money. William Backhouse, Astor Jr., lives at 34th Street. He's not pleased about the northward migration. William K. hires Richard Morris Hunt, the first American trained at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. Hunt had designed the pedestal for the Statue of Liberty. He understood something crucial. Architecture isn't just shelter, it's a statement of legitimacy. He proposes a French Renaissance chateau modeled after the Château de Blois in France's Loire Valley. Not an American mansion, a European palace, on a Manhattan street. William K. married Alva Erskine Smith in 1875. Alva was ambitious in ways that terrified old New York. Born in Mobile, Alabama, raised in Paris, her family lost everything in the Civil War. She married wealth and intended to weaponize it. She didn't want acceptance. She wanted conquest. The mansion would be her weapon. Alva understood something the old families didn't. Spectacle creates its own legitimacy. She would throw a ball so magnificent that Caroline Astor's daughter, Carrie Astor, would have to attend. And if Carrie attended, Caroline would have to acknowledge the Vanderbilts. It was social warfare conducted through architecture, fashion, and guest lists. Initially, the Mrs. Astor refused to call on Alva, a social death sentence. Alva's response: plan the most elaborate costume ball in American history. March 26, 1883. 1,200 guests invited. Carrie Astor desperately wanted to attend, but Caroline Astor hadn't called on Alva, so Carrie wasn't on the list. Finally, days before the ball, Caroline Astor's carriage appeared at 665th Avenue. She left her calling card. The Vanderbilts had won. The 1883 costume ball cost $250,000, approximately $7.5 million today, equivalent to 3 years' salary for 1,000 workers. The house filled with $11 million in flowers, $330 million today. Alva dressed as a Venetian princess. Her sister-in-law, Alice, dressed as Electric Light, covered in diamonds. The New York Times devoted 10,000 words to describing costumes. While 1,200 people danced, workers protested outside. Police kept them blocks away. The Vanderbilts began collecting European art aggressively, not American art. That wasn't prestigious enough. Old masters, French furniture, Gobelins tapestries. They entertained European nobility, Spanish dukes, French counts, English lords. When Consuelo Vanderbilt, William Kay's daughter, married the Duke of Marlborough in 1895, it cost $250,000, $8.8 million today, and required a $2.5 million dowry, $88 million today. But it worked. A Vanderbilt was now a duchess. Between 1883 and 1900, the Vanderbilts launched multiple yachts. Alva's Alva cost $500,000, $17.6 million today. Art collecting sprees in Europe, millions spent annually. Sponsorship of Metropolitan Opera boxes. Multiple mansions, not just Fifth Avenue, but Newport cottages like Marble House, $11 million, $387 million today. And the breakers. Racing stables, private rail cars with marble bathrooms, entire floors at European hotels. Once the Vanderbilts breached the wall, others followed. Cornelius Vanderbilt II, William Kay's older brother, built at 1 West 57th Street. Caroline Astor herself moved north to 840 Fifth Avenue. Andrew Carnegie eventually built at 91st Street. Henry Clay Frick at 75th Street. Between 1882 and 1910, Fifth Avenue transformed from residential street to plutocratic showcase. The old families couldn't compete. Many sold and moved away. The Vanderbilts and their peers didn't just join society, they replaced it. Cornelius Vanderbilt II wanted something his younger brother William Kay couldn't claim, the largest private home in New York City. When construction began in 1879, the choice of location was deliberate. Fifth Avenue and 57th Street, the northwestern edge of fashionable Manhattan. This wasn't just a home, it was a fortress of legitimacy. The initial vision, a modest by Vanderbilt standards, red brick structure designed by George B. Post. Cost, approximately $1.5 million, $45 million today. But Cornelius wasn't satisfied. In 1892, after his brother's chateau became the talk of New York, Cornelius hired the same architect, Richard Morris Hunt, to completely rebuild and expand. Hunt's vision, create the American equivalent of a French palace, not inspired by, equivalent to. The new design would consume the entire block front on Fifth Avenue between 57th and 58th Streets. It would dwarf every other private residence in the city. The statement, Cornelius was the head of the family, the chairman of the New York Central Railroad, and the keeper of the Vanderbilt legacy. Budget, $3 million for construction, $105 million today. Final cost, closer to $10 million when furnishings, art, and Hunt's expansions were included, $350 million today. Phase 1, 1879 to 1882, original Post Mansion. Phase 2, 1892 to 1894, Hunt renovation and expansion. Final touches, 1894 to 1896. Indiana limestone, 15,000 tons shipped by Vanderbilt's own railroad. Caen stone from France, 300 tons for decorative elements. Marble, 47 varieties from 7 countries. Italian Carrara, French Brèche, African marbles. Mahogany, oak, and rare woods from Central America and Southeast Asia. Stained glass designed by John Lafarge, fabricated in workshops in Brooklyn. Iron and steel framework from Carnegie Steel. Copper roofing, 45 tons imported from Sweden. At peak construction, 600 to 800 workers daily. Stone carvers from Italy. Woodworkers from Germany. Glaziers from France. American laborers for heavy lifting. The work was dangerous and relentless. Official records list 3 deaths during Hunt's 1892 to 1894 expansion. Marco Benedetti, age 34, Italian stone carver, fell from fourth-floor scaffolding, July 1893. Thomas Walsh, age 28, Irish laborer, crushed by falling limestone block, September 1893. Name unrecorded, worker buried in partial wall collapse, December 1893. Unofficial estimates suggest 5 to 7 additional deaths across both construction phases. Injuries were constant: broken bones from falls, crushed fingers, lung damage from stone dust. No compensation was provided beyond the immediate medical costs. Workers' families received nothing. Work hours, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 days per week. Wages, skilled craftsmen earned $3 to $5 per day, $105 to $175 today. Common laborers earned $1.25 to $1.75 today, $2 per day, 44 to 70 today. No safety regulations. Scaffolding was primitive, no fall protection, no dust masks. Winter work continued regardless of temperature. Workers provided their own clothing. Winter 1893, carvers threatened to strike over wages. Vanderbilt's agent simply fired the ringleaders and imported replacement workers from Philadelphia. The foundation required excavation to bedrock, 35 feet down through Manhattan schist. The structure used innovative steel frame construction, rare in residential buildings, to support the massive limestone facades. The grand staircase, 58 feet high, required a support system that engineers initially said was impossible in a residence. French Renaissance revival, specifically modeled after the Château de Blois and the Château de Chambord in France's Loire Valley. Limestone facade with elaborate carved decorations, steep mansard roofs with copper sheathing and ornamental dormers, grand entrance with carved archway, corner towers and turrets. Over 200 windows, many with custom stained glass. 137 rooms across 5 floors plus sub-basement. 130,000 square feet of interior space. Occupied full city block frontage, 200 feet on 5th Avenue, 100 feet deep. Height, 7 stories including servants' quarters and attic. Main hall, 60 feet long, 30 feet wide, 3-story ceiling. Grand ballroom held 800 guests. Art gallery, 100-foot-long room for paintings. Library, 2-story, held 10,000 volumes. Dining room seated 60, featured massive fireplace. Morning room, music room, smoking room, billiard room. 12 master bedrooms with private bathrooms. 20 servants' bedrooms with shared bathrooms. Commercial-grade kitchen with 4 ovens, walk-in refrigerators, separate pastry kitchen. Wine cellar held 5,000 bottles. Boiler room, coal storage, laundry facilities and sub-basement. Full electric lighting, rare in 1894 residences. Private generator in basement. Central heating with radiators in every room. Hydraulic elevators, 2, 1 for family, 1 for servants. Speaking tubes and electric bells for summoning servants. Indoor plumbing with hot water throughout. Electric dumbwaiters from kitchen to dining floors. Telephone system, internal and external lines. Primitive ventilation system using electric fans. Paintings, $2 million collection including works by European masters. Furniture, primarily French and Italian antiques, purchased during European tours. Tapestries, Gobelins and Flemish, 16th to 17th century, valued at $500,000. Decorative elements, each major room featured custom carved woodwork, hand-painted ceilings, custom tile work. Total value of contents, estimated $6 million, $210 million today. This was not just the largest private home in New York, it was a functioning palace. Every European architectural element was recreated with American craftsmanship and industrial-age technology. It represented the collision of old-world aristocracy and new-world industrial power. Annual operating budget, $250,000 to $300,000, $8.75 to $10.5 million today. Coal for heating, $15,000 per year, 475 tons consumed annually. Electricity, $8,000 per year. Private generator operation. Food and supplies, $40,000 per year. Staff salaries, $80,000 per year. Maintenance and repairs, $60,000 per year. Property taxes, $40,000 per year. Total staff, 40 to 60 depending on season. Butler, $1,200 per year, $42,000 today. Head housekeeper, $800 per year. Cook, and kitchen staff, $500 to $800 per year each. Ladies' maids, $400 per year each. Valets, $500 per year each. Footmen, $400 per year each. Housemaids, $200 to $300 per year each. Laundresses, $250 per year each. Scullery maids, $180 per year each. Stable staff, horses, carriages, separate building, $400 per year each. Maintenance workers, plumber, electrician, carpenter, $600 per year each. Night watchman, $400 per year. January 1895, ball for 1,000 guests celebrating completion. Cost, $200,000, $7 million today. Regular dinner parties, 40 to 60 guests, typically twice monthly during social season. Music halls, chamber orchestras performed in the music room. Famous guests included President Grover Cleveland, Oscar Wilde in 1895, European nobility, Metropolitan Opera stars. The heating system was inadequate. Upper floors were freezing in winter despite the coal costs. The electric generator broke down frequently, leaving entire sections without light. The grand staircase made it nearly impossible to move large furniture between floors. Servants' quarters in the attic were sweltering in summer, no ventilation. The art gallery's skylights leaked, damaging paintings. The elaborate carved woodwork required constant maintenance and repair. The mansion was impossible to staff during World War I when servants left for better-paying factory work. Alice Vanderbilt, Cornelius's wife, privately complained that the mansion was impossible to live in comfortably. Too many rooms stood empty. The public spaces were magnificent but unused for 11 months of the year. The family actually occupied perhaps 15 to 20 rooms. The rest existed for display and the theoretical possibility of entertaining on a massive scale. 1895, during the inaugural ball, a fire started in the kitchen. It was contained, but revealed that the mansion's fire safety was inadequate. Insurance companies demanded $50,000 in improvements, sprinkler systems, fire doors, additional exits, before they would continue coverage. William Kissam Vanderbilt's mansion at 5th Avenue and 52nd Street was actually first, the prototype that inspired all the others. Construction began in 1878, completed in 1882, a full decade before his brother's expansion. This was the mansion that broke New York society open, deliberately uptown, away from the old Knickerbocker neighborhood downtown. The message: we're not joining your society, we're creating a new one. The lot, 75 feet on 5th Avenue, 100 feet deep. Cost, $350,000 for land, $10.5 million today. Richard Morris Hunt was 54 years old when William Kay commissioned him. Hunt's vision: transplant a complete French chateau to Manhattan, not inspired by, a direct architectural reproduction of François I's chateau at Blois. 3 stories of pale Indiana limestone, steep slate roofs, carved dormers, Gothic and Renaissance details mixed deliberately. Initial budget, $1.9 million, $57 million today. Final cost, $3 million with furnishings, $90 million today. But the real cost was the 1883 ball, $250,000, $7.5 million today. Total investment in social conquest, $3.25 million, $97.5 million today. Groundbreaking, April 1878. Structural completion, December 1881. Interior finishing, January to December 1882. Official opening, March 26, 1883, the ball. Total construction time, 55 months. Indiana limestone, 8,000 tons. transported on Vanderbilt's own railroad at cost. Slate roofing, 400 tons from Vermont. Marble, interior featured 13 varieties, primarily Italian Carrara and French. Hardwoods, mahogany, oak, walnut from Central and South America. Stained glass, John Lafarge commissioned for windows and skylights. Iron framework, 200 tons for structural support. Custom hardware, bronze and copper fixtures fabricated in Brooklyn. Peak workforce, 300 to 400 workers. The project was Hunt's laboratory for training American craftsmen in European techniques. 40 stone carvers, primarily Italian immigrants. 60 woodworkers and cabinet makers, German and American. 20 specialized artisans, gilders, fresco painters, stained glass workers. 150 to 200 common laborers, Irish and German immigrants. 30 support workers, teamsters, material handlers. Official death toll, 2. Giovanni Russo, age 29, stone carver from Naples, fell from roof scaffolding, August 1880. Left wife and 3 children. Patrick O'Brien, age 35, laborer, struck by falling stone block, January 1881. No known family. Construction records, partial, found in Hunt's archives, note numerous injuries requiring medical attention. Fractured bones, at least as 15 cases. Severe cuts requiring stitches, 40+ cases. Stone dust-related respiratory issues, widespread, no specific count. 1 worker lost 3 fingers to a saw accident, name unrecorded. Standard workday, 10 to 12 hours, 6 days per week. Pay, $1.50 to $2 per day for laborers, 52 to 70 today. $3 to $5 per day for skilled craftsmen, 105 to 175 today. No safety equipment. Workers provided their own gloves, had no fall protection. Winter 1879 to 80 was brutal. Work continued in temperatures below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Workers who complained about conditions were fired immediately. No workers' compensation existed. Injured workers received no payment beyond their last day worked. September 1880. Stone carvers threatened to strike for higher wages and shorter hours. They were working 12-hour days. Hunt's foreman threatened to replace them with Italian immigrants willing to work for less. The strike ended before it began. 3 ringleaders were fired and blacklisted from other construction projects in the city. Foundation required excavation through 28 feet of fill and debris to reach bedrock. The grand staircase's cantilever design was considered impossible by several engineers. The slate roof's weight required additional iron support that wasn't in original plans. Integrating modern plumbing and gas lighting into a European chateau, design required constant improvisation. This was among the first major residential projects to use extensive scaffolding at heights over 40 feet. No safety regulations existed. Workers balanced on wooden planks with no railings, no harnesses, and no safety net. The mortality rate was considered acceptable for the time. Eclectic French Renaissance, primarily modeled on Chateau de Blois, but incorporating elements from several Loire Valley chateaux. The exterior was designed to impress from the street. A European palace dropped onto a Manhattan avenue. 60 rooms across 4 main floors, plus servants' attic. 70,000 square feet. 75-foot frontage on 5th Avenue. Height, 5 stories, including attic. Grand hall, 50 feet long with 2-story ceiling, French limestone walls. Dining room, seated 40, featured oak paneling from France, tapestries valued at $100,000. Banqueting hall could accommodate 200 standing guests. Ballroom, 50 by 30 feet, held 300 people comfortably, 400 maximum. Library, 2 stories, held 5,000 volumes, including medieval manuscripts. Salon, French 18th century style, gilded furniture. Alva's bedroom featured a $50,000 bed carved in France. William Kay's bedroom, separate from wife's, standard for the era among wealthy. 12 family bedrooms, 15 servants' rooms in the attic. Gymnasium, unusual for 1882. William Kay was health conscious. Full commercial kitchen, wine cellar, 3,000 bottles capacity. Gas lighting throughout. Electricity wasn't widely available yet. Central heating via coal furnace and radiators. Indoor plumbing with hot water. Revolutionary for 1882. Speaking tubes for summoning servants. Hydraulic elevator added 1885. Emergency pull cord system in every room. Alva spent $1 million, $30 million today, furnishing the mansion. French furniture, Louis XIV, XV, XVI periods. Gobelins tapestries, 8 major pieces. Paintings, primarily French, purchased during European trips. Sculptures, Roman and Renaissance pieces. Decorative arts, Sèvres porcelain, Venetian glass. The collection wasn't chosen for personal taste, but for social impact. Everything was selected to impress. The site of the March 26, 1883 ball that changed New York society, decorated for that event with $11 million in flowers, $330 million today. Temporary palm trees creating a tropical garden. Electric lights brought in for the event, run by temporary generators. Costume displays worth $155,000. Guest costume value. Full orchestra in the gallery. Total annual operating costs. $125,000 to $150,000 per year. 4.4 to 5.25 million today. Coal, $8,000 per year. Winter heating consumed 300 tons annually. Gaslighting, $3,000 per year. Staff salaries, $45,000 per year. Food and provisions, $25,000 per year. Maintenance and repairs, $20,000 per year. Property taxes, $18,000 per year. Insurance, $6,000 per year. Total staff, 30 to 35. Butler, $1,000 per year, $35,000 today. Housekeeper, $700 per year. Cook and kitchen staff, 6, $400 to $600 per year each. Ladies' maids, 2, $350 per year. Valet, $450 per year. Footmen, 4, $350 per year each. Housemaids, 8, $200 to $250 per year each. Laundresses, 3, $200 per year each. Coachmen and stable workers, 4, $400 per year each. Night watchmen, $350 per year. After the legendary 1883 ball, the mansion was used for entertainment perhaps 20 to 30 times per year. Formal dinners monthly during social season, January to April. Musicales occasional, 50 to 100 guests. Small receptions perhaps 10 times annually. The ballroom that could hold 400 was used at full capacity perhaps twice per year. Oscar Wilde, March 1883, during his American tour. European nobility, various counts, dukes, princes during 1880s to 1890s. American elite, Astors, Whitneys, Morgans after 1883. Metropolitan Opera performers, Enrico Caruso, Nellie Melba. President Theodore Roosevelt, 1902, dinner. The French chateau design was impractical for Manhattan winters, drafty and expensive to heat. Gaslighting created constant maintenance issues and fire risk. The grand staircase made moving furniture nearly impossible. Many rooms were too formal to actually use for daily living. Servants' attic rooms were stifling in summer, freezing in winter. The kitchen was too far from dining rooms. Food arrived lukewarm. Alva later admitted she hated living there. Too much a showpiece, too little a home. By the 1890s, Alva and William Kay's marriage was failing. The mansion became a prison for Alva. She forced their daughter Consuelo to marry the Duke of Marlborough in 1895, $2.5 million dowry. In 1895, Alva divorced William Kay, a scandal that shocked society. She renounced the mansion, saying it represented everything she'd come to hate. William Kay continued living there until 1920. After his death, the mansion stood empty. In 1925, it was sold to a developer for $3.5 million, demolished in 1926. A commercial building replaced it. Total lifespan, 44 years. Today, nothing marks where it stood. Henry Clay Frick's mansion was different. Built in 1913 to 1914, it came at the end of the Gilded Age mansion building spree. Frick was 64 years old, worth approximately $50 million, $1.45 billion today. And he knew exactly what he wanted, not a showpiece, but a museum that he could live in. East 75th Street between 5th and Madison, already a wealthy neighborhood, but not the 5th Avenue frontage where Vanderbilt's competed. The lot, 200 feet on 71st Street, 375 feet deep, entire city block. Cost, $2.4 million, $69.6 million today. Frick's vision was calculated. He told architect Thomas Hastings of Carrere and Hastings, "I want a museum with living quarters, not a home with gallery space." From the beginning, this mansion was designed with its eventual public future in mind. Frick was building his legacy and his mausoleum simultaneously. Budget, $5 million total, $145 million today. $2.4 million for land, $1.5 million for construction, $1.1 million for initial art purchases to fill it. Unlike the Vanderbilts, Frick stayed close to budget. This was business, not ego. Land purchase, 1906, sat vacant for 7 years while Frick planned. Design phase with Hastings, 1911 to 1913. Groundbreaking, May 1913. Structural completion, October 1914. Interior completion and art installation, November to December 1914. Frick family move-in, December 1914. Total construction, 18 months, remarkably fast for the scale. Unlike the Vanderbilt Chateau, this was neoclassical, 18th century European restraint rather than Renaissance exuberance. Hastings was inspired by European palaces, but designed for American efficiency and future museum conversion. Limestone, 6,000 tons from Indiana. Marble, primarily Tennessee pink marble for interiors. Steel framework, 300 tons from Carnegie Steel, ironic, as Frick had left Carnegie Steel years earlier. Flooring, marble, parquet, terrazzo. Roofing, copper and slate. Windows, bronze frames with leaded glass. Interior woods, French walnut, English oak. Peak, 250 to 300 workers. By 1913, construction was more regulated, safer, and faster due to steel frame techniques. 30 stone masons, 40 carpenters and finish workers, 50 specialized craftsmen, plasterers, painters, gilders, 100 to 120 general laborers, 20 supervisors and engineers. All workers were unionized, a significant change from the 1880s construction. Official death toll, 1. James Crawford, age 42, steelworker, fell from second-floor steel framework, August 1913. Left wife and 4 children. Frick personally paid for funeral and provided $1,000, $29,000 today, to the widow. Unprecedented for the era. Recorded injuries far fewer than earlier mansions due to improved safety. 3 broken bones from falls, 12 cases requiring stitches. Multiple minor injuries. First major residential project in NYC to require hard hats, leather caps, and safety ropes for high work. 8-hour workday, new standard by 1913. Pay, $3 to $4 per day for laborers, 87 to 116 today, $6 to $10 per day for skilled workers, 174 to 290 today. Sunday off, new standard. On-site medical tent for injuries. Workers' compensation insurance required, New York State Law, 1913. Union contracts protected workers from arbitrary firing. Steel frame construction, like office buildings, made it faster and safer. Electric tools replaced much hand labor. Better scaffolding with railings. Concrete rather than stone for non-visible structure. Assembly line approach to interior finishing. Professional project management with timeline and budget control. Complete electric infrastructure from the start, no gas. Central vacuum system. Advanced HVAC for climate control, critical for art preservation. Reinforced floors designed to hold art gallery loads. Fireproof construction throughout. Humidity control system, primitive but functional. neoclassical French, specifically inspired by European 18th century hotels particuliers, Parisian townhouse palaces, restrained exterior, sumptuous interiors. The design prioritized art display over personal comfort. 40 rooms across 3 floors, 75,000 square feet, 200-foot frontage on East 71st Street. Central courtyard, rare in Manhattan, designed for future museum visitors. 16-foot ceilings and main gallery rooms to accommodate large paintings. Ground floor, public gallery spaces. Entrance hall, West Gallery, 82 feet long, designed for large paintings. East Gallery, 72 feet long. South Hall. Fragonard Room housed Fragonard's Progress of Love panels. Dining room seated 24, featured 18th century English paneling. Living hall, 56 feet long, functioned as central gallery space. Library, 2 stories, held 10,000 volumes. Second floor, family quarters. 10 bedrooms including master suite. 8 bathrooms, each bedroom had private bath, modern for 1914. Morning room, sitting rooms, private family dining room, servants' quarters, 15 rooms, basement, bowling alley, gymnasium, storage for art, climate-controlled, mechanical systems, servants' dining hall and kitchen, wine cellar, 2,000 bottles, coal storage and boiler room, full electric lighting with backup generator, central heating and early air conditioning for art preservation. Otis elevators, 1 for family, 1 for servants, 1 for art and freight. Electric bells and intercom system, telephone system, multiple lines. Central vacuum system with outlets in every room. Humidity control system, innovative for 1914. Frick had been collecting since the 1890s. By 1914, his collection included paintings by Rembrandt, Vermeer, Turner, Gainsborough, Van Dyck, Titian. Initial collection value, approximately $5 million, $145 million today. By Frick's death in 1919, collection worth over $50 million, $765 million today. Furniture, primarily French 18th century, purchased as setting for paintings. Decorative arts, Chinese porcelain, Italian Renaissance bronzes, Limoges enamels. Unlike Vanderbilt's, Frick bought for personal taste and future museum value. This wasn't about social competition. Frick had already conquered that world. This was about immortality. Every design choice considered future museum visitors. Wide galleries, reinforced floors, natural and artificial lighting, designed for viewing art. A layout that would flow for public tours. Annual budget, $200,000 to $250,000, $5.8 to $7.25 million today. Heating and electricity, $15,000 per year. Staff salaries, $60,000 per year. Food and provisions, $30,000 per year. Art insurance, $40,000 per year, significant because of collection value. Maintenance, $35,000 per year. Property taxes, $20,000 per year. Total, $27 to $30. Smaller than Vanderbilt mansions despite similar size. Butler, $1,500 per year, $43,500 today. Housekeeper, $900 per year. Cook and kitchen staff, $600 to $900 per year each. Ladies' maid, $500 per year. Valet, $600 per year. Footman, $500 per year each. Housemaids, $300 to $400 per year each. Laundresses, $300 per year each. Chauffeur and garage staff, $800 per year each. Art conservator and handler, part-time, $1,200 per year. Watchman, rotating, $400 per year each. Frick entertained far less than Vanderbilt's. Formal dinners perhaps 10 times per year, 12 to 24 guests. Art viewing parties occasional, showing new acquisitions to fellow collectors. No balls, no massive receptions. The mansion was primarily a private museum where Frick lived among his collection. Guest list was selective, fellow industrialists, art dealers, museum directors. Andrew Carnegie, reconciled with Frick before Carnegie's death in 1919. Andrew Mellon, fellow collector and future Treasury Secretary. J.P. Morgan Jr., Joseph Duveen, art dealer who sold Frick many works. Bernard Berenson, art historian who advised on purchases. No royalty, no celebrities. This wasn't that kind of house. Unlike Vanderbilt mansions, this one worked. Climate control effectively preserved art. Layout was comfortable for daily living. Family occupied second floor, galleries were separate. Size was manageable with reasonable staff. Operating costs were sustainable from Frick's investment income. Technology functioned reliably. The courtyard provided light and air circulation. Frick lived there with wife Adelaide and daughter Helen. Their son had died in childhood. The second floor was genuinely homelike despite the museum below. Helen later said it was the happiest time of our lives, a striking contrast to Vanderbilt family dysfunction. Frick died December 2, 1919, age 69. His will specified the mansion would become a public museum. Adelaide could live there until her death. She died 1931. After her death, conversion to museum would begin. Endowment of $15 million, $229 million today, to operate museum in perpetuity. Collection could be added to, but never sold or loaned. December 16, 1935, the Frick collection opened to public. Unlike the Vanderbilt mansions, which were demolished, this one fulfilled its creator's vision. Frick had built for immortality, and he achieved it. At peak, 1900 to 1910, approximately 40 mansions on Fifth Avenue between 51st and 96th Streets employed an estimated 2,000 to 2,500 servants total. Each major mansion required 30 to 60 staff to operate. The hierarchy, using Cornelius Vanderbilt, the second mansion as example. Upper servants, allowed to interact with family. Butler managed male staff, oversaw dining service. Housekeeper managed female staff, household supplies. Ladies' maid, personal service to Mrs. Vanderbilt and daughters. Valet, personal service to Mr. Vanderbilt. Cook, professional chef. Typically French or trained in France. Governess when children present. Lower servants, invisible to family. First and second footmen served meals, answered door. Kitchen staff, sous chefs, scullery maids, kitchen boys. Housemaids cleaned, changed linens, emptied chamber pots. Laundresses washed and ironed household linens and clothing. Stable staff, coachmen, grooms, later chauffeurs and mechanics. Maintenance workers, daily repairs and upkeep. Night watchmen, security, stoking boilers overnight. Actual wages with modern equivalents, circa 1900. Butler, $1,000 to $1,500 per year. $35,000 to $52,500 today. Housekeeper, $700 to $900 per year. $24,500 to $31,500. Ladies' maid and valet, $400 to $600 per year. $14,000 to $21,000. Cook, $600 to $1,000 per year. $21,000 to $35,000. Footman, $350 to $500 per year. $12,250 to $17,500. Housemaids, $200 to $300 per year. $7,000 to $10,500. Scullery maids, $150 to $200 per year. $5,250 to $7,000. Laundresses, $200 to $300 per year. $7,000 to $10,500. Stable staff, $400 to $600 per year. $14,000 to $21,000. Hours, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. or later with brief breaks for meals. 16 to 18-hour days were standard, one half-day off per week, usually Sunday afternoon. 2 weeks holiday per year, unpaid. During social events, staff worked 20-plus hours straight. Living quarters, attic rooms, typically 8 by 10 feet. Shared bathrooms, 1 per 6 to 8 servants. No heat in summer, minimal heat in winter, no privacy. Rules: servants use separate stairs and entrances, never seen by family except when serving. No speaking unless spoken to. No personal visitors allowed. No marriage permitted while employed, especially for female servants. Instant dismissal for pregnancy. No grievances or complaints allowed. One set of uniform per year provided, servant paid for replacements. No use of family telephone, no receiving mail at house. December 1902. Servants at Caroline Astor's mansion, 840 Fifth Avenue, threatened to walk out en masse 3 days before her annual Christmas ball. Cause: no heat in servants' quarters during bitter cold snap. Refusal to provide coal for their stoves. Resolution: coal delivered, but ringleader, head footman, fired after the ball. July 19. 05. Kitchen staff at William K. Vanderbilt Mansion refused to work during a heat wave. Kitchen temperature exceeded 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Demanded fans and shorter hours. Resolution: all 7 kitchen staff fired. Replacements hired within 48 hours from domestic employment agencies. No fans provided. 1912, an attempt to organize servants across multiple mansions failed after 3 months. Approximately 200 servants signed up secretly. When discovered, all known members were fired and blacklisted. The association dissolved. Most servants' names are lost to history, but some records survive. Mary O'Connor, housemaid at Cornelius Vanderbilt Skew Mansion, 1894 to 1896. Diary fragments found in historical archives reveal Mrs. V expects perfection, but never notices when achieved. We are ghosts in her house, fired for insolence, requesting a sick day. Thomas Barrett, butler at William K. Vanderbilt Mansion, 1882 to 1903. One of few servants to survive long-term employment. Later wrote unpublished memoir describing 1883 ball. For the servants, it was 2 days without sleep, preparing for one night's entertainment. Catherine Murphy, scullery maid, jumped from 5th floor window of the Astor Mansion, January 1898, age 19. Survived but was permanently injured. No official explanation. Rumors unconfirmed suggested pregnancy and threatened dismissal. No assistance provided. On a single evening in February 1905 at the Cornelius Vanderbilt II Mansion, family and guests, 24 people, consumed dinner worth $500, $17,500 today. Oysters, multiple courses, fine wines. Servants, 43 people, 8 in basement, bread, stew, water. Total cost, $4, $140 today. Ratio, family dining cost was 125 times servant dining cost per person. Annual expenditure comparison, Vanderbilt Mansion, 1900. Alice Vanderbilt's clothing and jewelry, $50,000, $1.75 million today. Total annual wages for all 50 servants, $18,000, $630,000 today. Mrs. Vanderbilt spent 2.7 times on personal appearance what she paid her entire staff combined. Across the major Fifth Avenue mansions, estimated construction deaths: William K. Vanderbilt Mansion, 1878 to 1882, 2 confirmed, possibly 3 to 4 total. Cornelius Vanderbilt II Mansion, 1879 to 1896, 3 to 5 confirmed. Estimates suggest 7 to 5, 9 total. Caroline Astor Mansion, 1893 to 1896, 1 confirmed. Andrew Carnegie Mansion, 1898 to 1902, 2 confirmed. Henry Clay Frick Mansion, 1913 to 1914, 1 confirmed. Other Fifth Avenue mansions, estimated based on records, 5 to 8. Total estimated construction deaths: Millionaire's Row, 1878 to 1920, 19 to 21, 28 deaths. The names we know: Giovanni Russo, W.K. Vanderbilt Mansion, 1880. Patrick O'Brien, W.K. Vanderbilt Mansion, 1881. Marco Benedetti, Cornelius Vanderbilt, II Mansion, 1893. Thomas Walsh, Cornelius Vanderbilt, II Mansion, 1893. Unknown worker, wall collapse, Cornelius Vanderbilt, II Mansion, 1893. James Crawford, Frick Mansion, 1913. The others remain unnamed in surviving records. January 1897, small fire broke out during ball at Cornelius Vanderbilt II Mansion. No actual danger, but panic in ballroom led to stampede. 3 women injured, 1 seriously, broken hip. Incident hushed up in newspapers. March 1903, 12 guests at Caroline Astor dinner party fell violently ill. Initially suspected murder or poisoning plot. Investigation revealed spoiled oysters served, refrigeration failed. All recovered, but scandal nearly destroyed Astor's social supremacy. Cost, $50,000 to manage newspaper coverage. 1909, Edward McLean, businessman and dinner guest of Alice Vanderbilt, suffered massive heart attack during after-dinner cigars and smoking room. Died on premises. Ambulance called, through back entrance. Body removed discreetly. Event never mentioned in society pages. Cornelius Vanderbilt II, cerebral hemorrhage, 1899, age 55, died suddenly, possibly from stress of managing family fortune. William H. Vanderbilt, cerebral hemorrhage, 1885, age 64, died less than 8 years after inheriting fortune. Stress cited. Cornelius Vanderbilt III, Cornelius II's son, died 1942, age 66, but suffered lifelong depression, possibly related to inherited wealth burden. Reggie Vanderbilt died 1925, age 45, alcoholism, Gloria Vanderbilt's father, destroyed by family expectations. Multiple Vanderbilt suicides in subsequent generations. Across Fifth Avenue families, recurring pattern. Children raised in isolated luxury, no normal childhood. Enormous pressure to maintain family reputation. Multiple cases of depression, addiction, early death. Divorce rate among Gilded Age heirs, approximately 40% versus 5 to 10% general population. 1892, contractor sued Cornelius Vanderbilt II for non-payment. $185,000 claimed for additional work. Vanderbilt countersued for delays, settled out of court. $75,000 paid. Terms sealed. 1904, Elizabeth Walsh, laundress at Astor Mansion, lost 3 fingers in commercial mangle. Sued for compensation, $5,000. Astor lawyers argued she was careless. Settled. $500 paid, Walsh fired and blacklisted. 1910 to 1916, when federal estate tax introduced 1916, Vanderbilt lawyers fought valuation of mansions. IRS claimed fair market value. Vanderbilts argued no market for such properties, correctly predicting they were worthless. Battles lasted years. Legal fees exceeded $500,000 across all families. Servants' health crisis. Tuberculosis endemic in servant quarters due to overcrowding, poor ventilation. Respiratory disease common from coal dust, cleaning chemical exposure. Exhaustion-related illnesses, fainting, collapses during work. Depression and mental illness from isolation, stress, powerlessness. No health care provided beyond emergency treatment. Sick servants were fired immediately. Family health issues. Several Vanderbilt women suffered from depression, nervous exhaustion. Addiction to laudanum, opium-based medicine, was common among wealthy women. Alice Vanderbilt was rumored to suffer from anxiety, spent weeks in darkened rooms. The isolation and pressure of maintaining perfect appearances took psychological toll. 1898, Catherine Murphy, scullery maid, jumped or fell from 5th floor window at Astor Mansion, survived but permanently disabled. Official story, accident, servants whispered, pregnant, threatened with exposure and firing. No investigation. Murphy disappeared from records after brief hospitalization. 1901, $75,000 in jewelry disappeared from Alice Vanderbilt's bedroom. Head housemaid accused and arrested. She claimed innocence, suggested jewelry might have been misplaced by Mrs. Vanderbilt herself, who was known to be forgetful. Charges eventually dropped, but maid was not rehired. Jewelry never recovered. Some historians suggest possible insurance fraud. 1906, Cornelius Vanderbilt. The third's private accounts later discovered showed payments of $500 per month to J.M. in Philadelphia for 5 years, 1901 to 1906. Total, $30,000, 1.0. $5 million today. Identity of JM never confirmed. Speculation, illegitimate child, blackmail, or kept mistress. Records destroyed. For a typical major Fifth Avenue mansion, 50-plus rooms, 40-plus servants, circa 1905. Staff salaries, $40,000 to $80,000, $1.4 to $2.8 million today. Food and provisions, $25,000 to $40,000, $875,000 to $1.4 million. Heating, coal, $10,000 to $15,000, $350,000 to $525,000. Electricity and gas, $5,000 to $10,000, $175,000 to $350,000. Maintenance and repairs, $20,000 to $60,000, $700,000 to $2.1 million. Property taxes, $15,000 to $40,000, $525,000 to $1.4 million. Insurance, $5,000 to $15,000, $175,000 to $525,000. Entertaining, $50,000 to $200,000, $1.75 to $7 million. Total, $170,000 to $460,000 annually per mansion, $5.95 to $16.1 million today. These were not income-producing properties. Operating costs came from investment income from stocks, bonds, trusts, railroad dividends for Vanderbilts, real estate income for Astors, trust distributions. No mansion generated any revenue whatsoever. By 1910, the Vanderbilt fortune was fragmenting across heirs. Original fortune, 1877, William H. Vanderbilt inherited $105 million, divided among 8 children and their heirs. By 1920, no single Vanderbilt heir held more than 15 to 20 million. But mansion operating costs hadn't decreased. Fifth Avenue properties were consuming 10 to 20% of annual income just to maintain. Investment returns were declining, average 4 to 5% versus previous 8 to 10%. 1909, first cracks. William K. Vanderbilt sold art collection pieces, $500,000 raised. Alva Vanderbilt, ex-wife, sold jewelry, $250,000. 1914 to 1918, World War I impact. Servant crisis, staff leaving for factory work, better pay, shorter hours. Rising costs, food, fuel, everything more expensive. Difficulty maintaining properties with reduced staff. Several families closed entire floors of mansions. 1920s, the avalanche. Estate taxes introduced 1916. Heirs faced massive tax bills on inherited property. Market value of mansions plummeting. Nobody wanted to buy them. Operating costs still rising. $300,000 to $500,000 per year to maintain. Multiple families began quietly exploring sale or demolition. Annual premiums, $10,000 to $20,000 per mansion. After 1910, insurance companies reluctant to insure aging mansions. Fire risk, old electrical systems, difficult to retrofit. Several companies refused coverage unless expensive updates made. Some families chose to self-insure, risky. New York City increased assessments in the 1910s. Fifth Avenue mansions reassessed at $2 to $5 million each. Annual taxes, $30,000 to $60,000, 1.0, 5 to 2.1 million today. Families lobbied for reductions, arguing properties were unsaleable. City refused a needed revenue. By 1920, mansions built in the 1880s to the 1890s needed major work. Roof repairs, $50,000 to $100,000. Electrical system updates, $75,000 to $150,000. Plumbing replacements, $40,000 to $80,000. Structural repairs, $100,000 to $300,000. Cost to fully renovate a 30 to 40-year-old mansion, $500,000 to $1 million. Most families chose minimal maintenance, allowing slow deterioration. By 1925, the math was impossible. Annual operating cost, $400,000 average. To generate $400,000 at 5% return required $8 million in investments. but mansion itself worth maybe $2 to $3 million and declining. Total capital tied up, 10 to 11 million. Alternative, sell or demolish mansion, invest 10 million at 5% equals $500,000 income without expense. Decision became obvious. The mansions had to go. The area of 5th Avenue from 52nd to 96th Street wasn't empty when the Millionaires arrived. 18th century, working class housing, wood frame houses, small apartments, Irish and German immigrant communities, small businesses, grocers, butchers, livery stables, laundries, African American community around West 60s, small churches and community centers. Estimated population in the area, 1870, 8,000 to 12,000 people. Direct purchase from property owners at market value. But market value was determined by wealthy buyers' agents. Typical pattern, agent approached owner with generous offer. If refused, agent waited, then returned with lower offer. Eventually, holdouts sold as neighborhood changed around them. Nothing illegal, but enormous power imbalance. Vanderbilt agents bought surrounding properties first, isolating holdouts. City suddenly discovered code violations, requiring expensive repairs. Property taxes mysteriously increased. Essential services, trash collection, street maintenance, declined in targeted areas. Police presence increased, targeting residents for minor violations. Small businesses lost customer base as neighborhood changed. To build Cornelius Vanderbilt II mansion full block, approximately 20 to 30 families displaced. William K. Vanderbilt site, approximately 12 to 15 families. Across 40 Fifth Avenue mansions, 1880 to 1920, estimated 500 to 800 families displaced. Total affected, approximately 2,500 to 4,000 people removed from neighborhood. The Irish and German working class, most relocated to Hell's Kitchen, West 40s to 50s. Others moved to Yorkville, Upper East Side, 80s to 90s. Longer commutes to jobs downtown. Loss of established community networks. Housing in new areas was often worse quality. No compensation beyond property sale price, which didn't cover replacement housing. Small black community around West 60s was completely dispersed. Some moved to San Juan Hill, West 60s to 70s, later demolished for Lincoln Center. Others to Harlem, still developing in 1890s to 1900s. Black property owners received lower offers than white owners for equivalent properties. Several black churches were displaced, including one that dated to the 1840s. When residential community disappeared, supporting businesses died. Estimated 150 to 200 small businesses closed, 1880 to 1910. Grocers, butchers, bakeries, laundries, taverns, small shops. These were family livelihoods, destroyed as customer base evaporated. No business compensation provided. Some owners went bankrupt. Madison Square Presbyterian Church Cemetery, located near 54th and Madison, adjacent to Fifth Avenue Mansion District, contained approximately 300 graves, including Revolutionary War veterans. In 1895, church was forced to relocate as area became exclusively residential for wealthy. Cemetery was disturbed. Bodies were supposed to be reburied elsewhere. Records are unclear whether all bodies were relocated. Site is now commercial building. St. Mary's Catholic Church, small Irish Catholic church at 52nd Street, served working-class community. Congregation forced to relocate in 1884 when William K. Vanderbilt bought surrounding properties. Church building demolished. Congregation scattered across multiple parishes. Community center function lost. Pre-1880, Fifth Avenue had tree-lined streets, small yards, community gardens, mansion construction, thousands of trees removed. Massive stone construction blocked light, created wind tunnels. Small public spaces disappeared, replaced by private walled gardens. Heat island effect, stone and pavement replaced vegetation. Construction disrupted natural drainage patterns. Mansions required massive water supply for heating, bathrooms, fountains. Strain on city water infrastructure. Runoff patterns changed, contributing to flooding in Lower Manhattan. No environmental impact studies, concept didn't exist. By 1930, when mansions were being demolished, the working-class families who'd been displaced 40 to 50 years earlier were mostly dead. Their children and grandchildren never returned to the neighborhood. Instead, Fifth Avenue became commercial and upper-middle-class apartments. The brief Gilded Age monopoly on the neighborhood, 1880 to 1930, permanently erased the diverse working-class community that had existed before. Cornelius Vanderbilt Lescaut and Alice Gwynn married February 4, 1867. He was 23, she was 21. Alice was from established but not wealthy family, good breeding but little money, marriage initially happy. 7 children born between 1868 and 1884. Power dynamic. Cornelius inherited fortune. Alice gained wealth, but no real control. By 1890s, marriage strained by tragedy. Son, William Henry, died at 21. Daughter Gertrude's scandalous social life. Affairs, Cornelius rumored to have mistress in Paris, unconfirmed. Alice became reclusive, suffered from depression and anxiety. After Cornelius died 1899, Alice lived in the 137-room mansion, alone with servants for 15 years. William K. Vanderbilt and Alva Smith married April 20, 1875. She was 22, he was 28. This was pure strategy. Alva sought wealth and power. William K. needed someone ambitious enough to conquer society. Alva later wrote, "I married for ambition, not love." The marriage worked initially. Alva's social warfare succeeded brilliantly. 3 children, Consuelo, William K. Jr., Harold. Power shift. By early 1890s, Alva had achieved her goals and found the marriage empty. Affairs, both likely had extramarital relationships, discreet, unconfirmed. Divorce, 1895, shocking scandal, rare among wealthy elite. Alva kept Marble House in Newport in settlement. William K. kept Fifth Avenue Mansion. Alva remarried Oliver Belmont, another extremely wealthy man. Alva's divorce was revolutionary, first major divorce in New York's highest society. Alva faced social ostracism initially, but her wealth made her impossible to ignore. Set precedent, unhappy wealthy women could leave marriages and survive socially. Financial terms favored Alva. $10 million settlement. $352 million today. Marble House. Generous annual income. William K., never remarried, became reclusive. After Cornelius II died, 1899, Alice inherited the 137-room mansion. She lived there alone with 40 servants for 15 years, maintained the property obsessively, $200,000 plus annually in upkeep, refused to sell despite numerous offers. Her preservation kept the mansion standing until 1927, but she was deeply unhappy. "I'm a prisoner in this palace." Finally made demolition decision at age 81, liberating herself. Helen Clay Frick, Henry Clay Frick's daughter, 1888 to 1984. Never married, devoted life to father's legacy. After Mother Adelaide died 1931, oversaw conversion of mansion to museum. Served on Frick Collection Board for 50-plus years. Added to collection thoughtfully, honoring father's vision. Her preservation was active, engaged, purposeful. Stark contrast to Alice Vanderbilt's burden. Cornelius Vanderbilt, the second's 7 children. William Henry, Vanderbilt II, 1870 to 1892. Died at age 21 from typhoid fever while at Yale. The golden child, groomed to inherit. His death devastated Cornelius II and may have contributed to father's early death in 1899. Cornelius Vanderbilt III, 1873 to 1942, inherited title and some wealth, but not majority. Army career, brigadier general, built own fortune, suffered lifelong depression, multiple failed business ventures, married Grace Wilson, unhappy marriage. His children squandered remaining fortune. Gertrude Vanderbilt, 1875 to 1942, married Harry Payne Whitney, 1896, became sculptor and art patron, founded Whitney Museum of American Art, 1931, most successful of Cornelius II's children, created own legacy beyond family money, happiest of the siblings. Alice Vanderbilt, 1876 to 1876, died in infancy. Alfred Gwynne Vanderbilt, 1877 to 1915, most glamorous of the children, sportsman, horseman, inherited $40 million, $1.12 billion today. Died on RMS Lusitania, May 7, 1915. Gave his life vest to a woman with baby, heroic death. Left fortune to sons, but it was largely exhausted by the 1960s. Reginald Vanderbilt, 1880 to 1925, the problem child. Playboy, gambler, alcoholic. Inherited $15.5 million, lost most of it to bad investments and extravagance. Father of Gloria Vanderbilt, 1924. Died at age 45 from cirrhosis. Gloria later said father was destroyed by inherited wealth. Gladys Vanderbilt, 1886 to 1965, married Count Laszlo Széchenyi, Hungarian nobility, 1908. Lived quietly, avoided scandal, longest lived of the siblings, raised primarily by governesses and tutors, minimal parental contact. Separate nursery floor, rarely saw parents except formal occasions. Expectations were crushing. "You are a Vanderbilt," repeated constantly. Private tutors, European travel, but isolated from normal children. Observed parents' social warfare, family tensions, enormous wealth, but little warmth. Gertrude later described childhood as lonely and strange. Consuelo Vanderbilt, 1877 to 1964, the most famous and tragic, forced by Mother Alva to marry 9th Duke of Marlborough, 1895. Marriage essentially purchased $2.5 million dowry, $88 million today, plus annual income. Consuelo was in love with another man, Winthrop Rutherford. Alva threatened suicide if she didn't marry Duke. Marriage was miserable. 2 sons, then separated 1906, divorced 1921. Later wrote memoir, The Glitter and the Gold, describing psychological abuse. Eventually found happiness, remarried to French aviation pioneer Jacques Balsan. Her story exposed the dark side of Gilded Age arranged marriages. William K. Vanderbilt II, 1878 to 1944, most stable of William K.'s children. Racing enthusiast, marine biologist. Built own mansion on Long Island, now museum. Managed inheritance wisely, married 3 times, but seemingly by choice, not coercion. Harold Sterling Vanderbilt, 1884 to 1970. Railroad executive, America's Cup yachtsman, bridge expert. Invented contract bridge scoring system. Created genuine achievements beyond inherited wealth. Managed family fortune conservatively. Every Vanderbilt child faced pressure to marry appropriately. European nobility or equivalent American wealth. Expected to maintain family social position. Required to manage inherited wealth responsibly. Constant public scrutiny. Newspaper coverage of every action. Comparison to previous generations' achievements. Obligation to multiple properties, trusts, family businesses. Consuelo's rebellion, divorced the Duke, shocking for the era, married for love, second time. Reginald's rebellion, became notorious playboy, gambled away fortune, drank himself to death. Ultimate rejection of family expectations. Gertrude's rebellion, became serious artist, rejected society life for creative work. Several younger generation Vanderbilts became actors, artists, writers, careers considered inappropriate for their class. Beyond deaths, addiction, divorces, multiple Vanderbilt heirs suffered from depression and anxiety, not diagnosed or treated at the time. Several family suicides in later generations, early to mid-1900s. Addiction patterns, alcoholism, prescription drug abuse among multiple heirs. Custody battles, Gloria Vanderbilt's childhood custody battle. 1934, exposed family dysfunction publicly. 1877, Cornelius Vanderbilt, the Commodore, dies. Left $105 million almost entirely to one son, William Henry. Other children received token amounts, $500,000 to $2 million each. This concentration of wealth worked initially. 1885, William Henry Vanderbilt dies. Estate, $200 million, had doubled father's fortune in 8 years. Divided more equally among 8 children, each received 10 to 30 million. Cornelius II, eldest, received largest share and family leadership. This division began the wealth fragmentation. 1899, Cornelius Vanderbilt II dies. Estate, approximately $70 million, had shrunk from father's bequest due to living expenses and 1890s financial panic. Divided among widow Alice and 6 surviving children. Alice received mansion and 10 million. Each child received 7 to 12 million. Further fragmentation, no single heir held commanding fortune. 1920s, third generation inherits. Each grandchild of William Henry received $1 to $5 million, substantial but not dominating wealth. Operating Fifth Avenue mansions now economically impossible with smaller inheritances. Most sold artwork, jewelry, eventually properties. By the 1940s, fourth generation was inheriting thousands or low millions, not tens of millions. Cornelius Vanderbilt II, September 12, 1899, age 55, relatively young. Cerebral hemorrhage at family's summer home in Newport. Sudden death, collapsed while walking to breakfast. Possible contributing factors: stress of managing family fortune during 1890s. Financial panics. Pressure of maintaining multiple properties. Family tragedies. Son, William Henry's death in 1892. Conspiracy theories, none credible, death well documented medically. Left estate valued at $70 million, but complicated by multiple properties, trust structures. Alfred Gwynne Vanderbilt, May 7, 1915, age 37, at peak of life. Died on RMS Lusitania when torpedoed by German U-boat. Heroic circumstances, gave his life jacket to woman with baby, went down with ship. Left estate of approximately $40 million. Had remarried after scandal-plagued first marriage divorce. Left 2 young sons who would later squander much of their inheritance. His death became part of American World War I narrative. Federal estate tax introduced 1916. Initially 10% on estates over $50,000, rising to 25% on estates over $10 million. For Vanderbilts and peers, this changed everything. Alice Vanderbilt's estate died 1934. Estate value, approximately $12 million, much smaller than expected. She'd spent enormous amounts maintaining mansion. Estate tax bill, approximately $3 million. Heirs forced to liquidate assets to pay tax. The Fifth Avenue mansion, demolished 1927, would have faced even larger tax burden if she'd kept it. Cornelius Vanderbilt III's estate died 1942. Estate value, approximately $1.6 million, shocking decline from grandfather's fortune. After estate taxes, approximately $1 million to heirs. Newspaper headline, Vanderbilt dies nearly broke. Exaggerated but symbolically true. The valuation battles, 1920s to 1930s. Central conflict. What were the mansions worth? Families argued, no market exists for such properties' minimal value. IRS argued, replacement cost or land value, high assessment. Reality, families were right. Mansions were economically worthless by the 1920s. But IRS wanted tax revenue. William K. Vanderbilt estate died 1920. IRS assessed Fifth Avenue mansion at $5 million. Family argued true market value $1 to $2 million maximum. Litigation lasted 6 years. Settlement? $2.5 million valuation. But mansion demolished 1926. No buyer at any price. Legal fees exceeded $300,000. Trusts. Wealthy families created complex trust structures. Irrevocable trusts for children, protected from estate taxes at parents' death. Generation-skipping trusts avoided tax at each generational transfer. Charitable trusts reduced taxable estate. These worked partially, but couldn't stop the erosion. Several families donated properties to avoid estate taxes. Frick Mansion donated to become museum, avoided estate tax, preserved legacy. Carnegie Mansion, donated to Smithsonian, now Cooper Hewitt Museum. This strategy preserved the properties but removed them from family wealth. By 1930s, standard strategy: sell artwork, jewelry gradually, avoid flooding market, liquidate real estate when possible, convert physical assets to stocks, bonds, easier to divide among heirs, less maintenance cost. Except that concentration of wealth was ending. 1920s to 1930s, demolitions on Fifth Avenue. William K. Vanderbilt Mansion, demolished 1926. Cornelius Vanderbilt II, mansion demolished 1927. Astor Mansion demolished 1926. Multiple other mansions, 1925 to 1935. Total, approximately 30 to 35 of 45th Avenue Gilded Age mansions demolished by 1940. Vanderbilt artwork sold at auction, 1920s to 1940s. Collections scattered globally. Furniture, decorative arts auctioned or donated to museums. Family heirlooms, many lost or sold. Later generations didn't have space or resources to maintain collections. By 1940s, Vanderbilt was still famous name, but no longer social dominance. The 400, Mrs. Astor's exclusive list, was dead. Cafe society, Hollywood, new money replaced old Gilded Age families. Vanderbilt descendants became actors. Gloria Vanderbilt's son, Anderson Cooper, is CNN anchor, respectable but not aristocracy. Generation 1, the founder, Cornelius, the Commodore, Vanderbilt, 1794 to 1877. Born poor, died richest American ever to that point. Steamships, then railroads. Ruthless, vulgar, uneducated but brilliant. Rejected by society but didn't care, focused on making money, built the fortune from nothing. 83 years of hard work. Generation 2, the consolidators, William Henry, 1821 to 1885, and his children. Born wealthy enough to be comfortable, inherited empire. William H. doubled fortune in 8 years. His children, Cornelius II, William K., etc., maintained wealth, built mansions, fought for social acceptance, won it. Mixed genuine business acumen with inherited advantage. This generation built Millionaire's Row. Generation 3, the spenders, Cornelius II's children, William K.'s children, 1870s to 1940s. Born into extreme wealth, never knew struggle. Some tried to earn respect through achievement, Gertrude's art. Cornelius III's military service. Others simply spent. Reginald's gambling and drinking. Fought to maintain properties. Social position inherited from parents. Lost battle. Economics, taxes, changing society made Gilded Age lifestyle impossible. Saw the dynasty crumble. Generation 4 plus. Dispersal. 1920s onward. Inherited thousands or low millions, not tens of millions. No concentrated fortune remained. Many pursued careers, journalism, art, business. Vanderbilt became a historical name, not a current power. By the 2000s, Vanderbilt descendants are upper middle class, not wealthy elite. The Commodore's values: work obsessively, crush competition, accumulate wealth, don't care what society thinks, success measured in dollars. William Henry's values: preserve father's work, expand carefully, begin to care about respectability, success measured in dollars plus social acceptance. Cornelius II and William K.'s values: social position equal to wealth, cultural patronage, and European sophistication, conspicuous consumption as statement, success measured in social dominance. Third generation's values: entitlement to inherited position, maintenance rather than growth, some seeking purpose beyond wealth like Gertrude, others seeking escape like Reginald, success increasingly unclear. Multiple descendants spoke about the psychological weight. Gloria Vanderbilt, Reginald's daughter, the name was a curse and a blessing. Everyone expected so much. Consuelo, William K.'s daughter, wrote memoir exposing emotional cost of family expectations. Cornelius IV, 1898 to 1974. Great-grandson: my great-great-grandfather built an empire. My great-grandfather maintained it. My grandfather lost it. I have to work for a living. By the 1960s, the dynasty was essentially over. The name remained famous, but the fortune and power were gone. The fifth and sixth generations of Vanderbilts lived as comfortable but not wealthy Americans. Some kept heirlooms, most did not. The concentration of wealth that the Commodore built, 1810s to 1870s, lasted 3 generations, 1877 to 1930s, approximately 50 to 60 years. The mansions existed for roughly the same period, 1880s to 1930s, 40 to 50 years. It was one of history's great fortunes, and it evaporated almost as quickly as it was built. By 1925, the economic reality was undeniable. Multiple factors converged. October 1927. Alice Gwynne Vanderbilt, widow of Cornelius II, was 81 years old. She'd lived alone in the 137-room mansion at 57th and 5th for 15 years since her husband died in 1899. She'd spent over $3 million maintaining it, $51 million today. The annual operating cost was approximately $300,000, $5.1 million today, consuming a large portion of her investment income. The crisis. Her children urged her to sell or donate. No buyer existed. Museums couldn't afford operating costs. The city didn't want it. Her only option, demolition. October 1927, she signed the demolition contract. Sale price to developer, $7 million for the land, $120 million today. The mansion itself had negative value. Demolition cost $500,000. Cornelius Vanderbilt II's death, 1899, had started the clock. But William K. Vanderbilt's death, 1920, accelerated everything. Estate tax bill estimated $4 to $6 million. No single heir wanted to maintain Fifth Avenue Mansion alone. Operating costs $200,000 plus annually impossible for any individual heir. The mansion stood empty 1920 to 1925, deteriorating. Finally demolished 1926. The 1929 stock market crash is often blamed, but the mansion demolitions began before 1929. William K. Vanderbilt Mansion demolished 1926. Cornelius II Mansion demolished 1927 to 1928. Astor Mansion demolished 1926. The crash simply confirmed what was already true. The Gilded Age was over. Option 1, sell to another wealthy family. Attempted by multiple families. No buyers emerged. New rich didn't want to maintain properties. Operating costs were prohibitive even for millionaires. Verdict, failed completely. Option 2, donate to city or museum. Several families approached NYC, Metropolitan Museum, other institutions. Institutions couldn't afford operating costs. Museums had limited space for decorative arts. NYC didn't want to maintain luxury properties as public buildings. Verdict, only worked in rare cases, Frick, Carnegie. Option 3, convert to commercial use. Considered for several properties. Zoning laws prohibited in some cases. Architecture wasn't adaptable. Grand staircases, ballrooms useless for offices. Cost to retrofit exceeded value. Verdict, impossible for residential chateau-style mansions. Option 4, demolish and sell land. Only economically viable option. Fifth Avenue land value high for commercial development. Developers would buy land, demolish mansion themselves. Family received land value minus demolition cost. Verdict, chosen by majority of families. Alice Vanderbilt's motivation, exhaustion, liberation. She'd maintained the mansion as duty to dead husband. At 81, wanted freedom from burden. Quote, I'm selling my prison. Decision, demolish, took smaller house uptown. Vanderbilt heirs, third generation, motivation, economics, and practicality. None wanted to live in 60 to 137-room mansions. Operating costs consumed inheritance. Preferred modern apartments or suburban homes. Needed cash more than showpiece properties. Frick and Carnegie families, the exceptions. Motivation. Legacy preservation through public access. Frick specifically designed mansion for eventual museum use. Carnegie committed to philanthropy, donation was logical. Both had trusts and endowments to support ongoing operations. Decision: donate with endowment for perpetual maintenance. The Frick Collection opened December 16, 1935. Adelaide Frick, Henry's widow, died 1931, triggering transformation. Renovation 1931 to 1935. Cost approximately $3 million, $56 million today. Added gallery wings, public entrance, museum infrastructure. Preserved family living quarters converted to galleries. Initial reaction, acclaimed immediately, called Museum Jewel. Initial operations 1935. Ticket price 50 cents, approximately $10 today. Hours limited by appointment initially. Annual visitors 1936, approximately 50,000. Staff 15 to 20, guards, curators, maintenance. Endowment 15 million, generating approximately $600,000 per year. 11.2 million today. Cooper Hewitt, Carnegie Mansion. Carnegie built mansion 1898 to 1902. Andrew Carnegie died 1919. Louise Carnegie continued living there until 1946. Louise died 1946. Mansion deeded to Smithsonian Institution. Renovation for museum use 1967 to 1976. Opened as Cooper Hewitt National Design Museum 1976. Initial ticket price $3, approximately $15 today adjusted. The Frick Collection 1935 to 2024. 1950s to 1970s, traditional museum. Admission fees, membership program introduced 1950s. Small gift shop, limited special exhibitions. 1980s to 2000s, expanded revenue. Higher admission by 2000, $15 per adult. Membership tiers, $75 to $10,000 plus. Concerts and lectures, ticket sales, gift shop expansion, facility rentals, private events and garden court, dining, limited cafe. 2010s to 2020s, modern museum business. Admission 2024, $22 general, $17 seniors, students free. Membership $125 to $25,000 plus, various tiers. Facility rentals $10,000 to $100,000 plus per event for corporate events, weddings. Gift shop and publications, approximately 1 to 2 million annually. Endowment growth, approximately 200 million by 2020. Special exhibitions with separate fees. Digital presence and licensing. 1914, as Frick residence, 27 to 30 servants. Roles, butler, housemaids, cook, etc. Wages, $150 to $1,500 per year. $4,350 to $43,500 today. Relationship, employer and servant. Purpose, maintain private home for one family. 2024, as Frick Collection, approximately 120 to 150 employees. Roles, curators, conservators, educators, security, administrators, development, visitor services. Wages, $35,000 to $150,000 plus estimated range. Relationship, professional staff. Purpose, operate public institution for 275,000 plus annual visitors. The Frick Collection, approximately 275,000 to 300,000 visitors. Cooper Hewitt, approximately 200,000 to 250,000 visitors. Note, both experienced COVID disruption 2020 to 2022, numbers recovering. Frick Collection, estimated 2024. Earned income, admissions, $4 to $5 million, 275,000 visitors, times $15 to $18 average after discounts. Membership, 2 to 3 million, 8,000 to 10,000 members, times average $250 to $300. Museum shop, $1 to $1.5 million. Facility rentals, $2 to $4 million. 50 to 80 events times $40,000 to $50,000 average. Programs and tours, $500,000. Publications, $300,000. Total earned, approximately $10 to $15 million. Contributed income, annual fund, $3 to $5 million. Major gifts, $2 to $5 million. Variable. Endowment draw, $8 to $10 million. 5% of approximately $200 million endowment. Grants, $1 to $2 million. Total contributed, approximately $14 to $22 million. Total revenue, approximately $24 to $37 million annually. Operating costs, Frick collection, estimated 2024. Personnel salaries and benefits, $12 to $16 million, approximately 60 to 70% of budget. 120 to 150 full and part-time staff. Facilities, maintenance and repairs, $2 to $3 million. Utilities, $800,000 to $1 million. Security systems, $500,000. Insurance, $1 to $1.5 million. Property taxes exempt, non-profit status. Climate control, critical for art, $400,000. Collections, conservation, $1 to $2 million. Acquisitions, $1 to $3 million. Variable, from restricted funds. Insurance for collection, $2 to $3 million. Programs, exhibitions, $1 to $2 million. Education programs, $800,000. Publications, $300,000. Digital and technology, $500,000. Administration, development and fundraising, $1 to $1.5 million. Marketing, $800,000. General administration, $1 to $1.5 million. Total operating costs, approximately $25 to $40 million annually. The Frick operates on tight margins. Endowment draw plus earned and contributed income barely cover costs. Major renovations or acquisitions require special capital campaigns. The institution is sustainable but not lavishly funded. Executive leadership, 5 to 8. Director, deputy director, CFO, etc. Curatorial staff, 15 to 20. Curators, associate curators, researchers. Conservation, 8 to 10. Conservators for paintings, decorative arts, frames. Education and public programs, 10 to 15. Visitor services, 20 to 30. Front desk, guards, tour guides. Development and membership, 10 to 15. Marketing and communications, 5 to 8. Operations and facilities, 15 to 20. Maintenance, engineering, housekeeping. Administration, 10 to 15. HR, IT, finance, legal. Retail and hospitality, 5 to 10. Building is 110 years old, built 1913 to 1914. Aging infrastructure, HVAC, electrical. Plumbing need constant updating. Climate control, maintaining 68 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit and 50% humidity year-round in historic building is expensive and difficult. The building wasn't designed for modern museum traffic, 275,000 plus visitors. Recent renovation, 2020 to 2024, 125 plus million to add gallery space, update systems. Paintings require constant monitoring, occasional restoration. Frames, many original 18th century, are fragile and expensive to maintain. Furniture and decorative arts need specialized conservation. Lighting must be carefully controlled. UV damage to paintings. The visitor experience versus historic preservation. Tension, original design, intimate viewing for small groups. Current reality, managing crowds while preserving intimate feeling. Installing modern amenities, bathrooms, elevators, climate control in historic structure. Balancing access, ADA compliance, public programming with preservation. Authentic original 1914. The core mansion structure. Many of the main gallery rooms' proportions and layout. Original decorative elements, mantels, some woodwork, certain architectural features. The art collection, Frick's original purchases, remain core of collection. Garden court, modified but essentially original. Restored, carefully maintained original, painted surfaces repainted in original colors, floors restored or replaced with matching materials, some furniture restored and conserved, lighting fixtures many restored, rewired, recreated, and modified. HVAC systems, original was rudimentary. Electrical systems, upgraded multiple times. Gallery lighting, modern museum standards. Security systems, cameras, alarms, invisible but pervasive. Public amenities, modern bathrooms, accessibility features. Gallery wings added 1931 to 1935 and 1977, plus recent 2020s renovation. Some decorative elements reproduced where originals were too fragile. Visitors experience approximately 60 to 70% authentic, 20 to 30% restored, 10 to 20% recreated. The feeling and scale are authentic. The art is authentic. But modern museum operations require significant behind-the-scenes modification. The Frick is honest about this in its materials. Survived, 2 of approximately 40. Frick Mansion, 1 East 71st Street. Museum since 1935, thriving. Carnegie Mansion, 2 East 91st Street. Cooper Hewitt Museum since 1976, successful. Demolished, sampling of major losses. Cornelius Vanderbilt. Second Mansion, 1 West 57th Street, demolished in 1927, replaced by Bergdorf Goodman Department Store. William K. Vanderbilt Mansion, 665th Avenue, demolished 1926, commercial building. Caroline Astor Mansion, 845th Avenue, demolished 1926. Temple Emmanuel Synagogue built on site. William Henry Vanderbilt Twin Mansions, 645th Avenue, demolished 1947, commercial building. A.T. Stewart Mansion, 34th Street, demolished 1901, replaced by commercial building. Numerous others, approximately 35 to 38 additional mansions, demolished between 1925 and 1960. Most are now luxury retail, Bergdorf Goodman, Tiffany and Company, etc. Office buildings, apartment towers, 1 synagogue. 0 residential mansions remain on 5th Avenue south of 79th Street. The few survivors, Frick, Carnegie, some on Museum Mile, are all museums. No private families still occupy Gilded Age mansions in Manhattan. Success factors, why Frick and Carnegie survived. 1. Intentional design for future museum use. Frick specifically told his architect, "Design this as a museum I can live in. Gallery-style rooms with high ceilings, natural light, layout conducive to public flow, reinforced floors for heavy art loads." Carnegie's mansion was less intentionally designed for museum use, but its scale was more modest. Endowments. Frick left $15 million endowment specifically for museum operations. $229 million in 1919 dollars equals billions in growth over time. Carnegie family fortune supported Smithsonian takeover. Operating funds were provided, not just buildings. Critical difference, Vanderbilt's left buildings without operational funding. Location, Frick, 75th Street, and Carnegie, 91st Street, were slightly off the prime 5th Avenue commercial corridor, less valuable for commercial development than 50th to 60th Street locations. Developers less interested in land. Zoning was more favorable for cultural institutions. Timing. Both families made decisions while still alive or shortly after death. Carnegie died 1919. Louise lived until 1946, but planned donation. Frick died 1919. Adelaide died 1931. Conversion happened by 1935. No messy multi-air battles, clear single vision. Architectural suitability. Both were relatively restrained designs, neoclassical rather than French chateau fantasy. Room sizes were appropriate for galleries. Less wedding cake architecture that was impossible to maintain. More dignified museum than private palace. Cultural value. Both collections were museum quality from the start. Curated by experts, not just accumulated for show. Clear educational and cultural mission from beginning. Public benefit was obvious. Failure factors. Why Vanderbilt mansions were demolished. 1. Economic impossibility. Operating costs $300,000 to $500,000 annually by the 1920s. No endowment provided for operations. Even if donated, who could afford to run them? Answer: nobody. Architectural unsuitability. French chateau designs were pure ego projects. Grand staircases, ballrooms, 137 rooms, useless for any practical purpose. Couldn't be converted to offices, apartments, or even museums easily. Too specific to original purpose, private entertaining. Location. Prime Fifth Avenue, 50s to 60s, was too valuable for non-commercial use. Developers would pay millions for land. Commercial zoning favored development. Real estate pressure was immense. Fragmented ownership. Multiple heirs with competing interests. No single heir could or would maintain property. Compromise was impossible. Sale and division of proceeds was only fair solution. Change values. By the 1920s to 1930s, these mansions seemed embarrassing. Depression made ostentatious wealth look obscene. Even wealthy families didn't want to be associated with robber baron excess. Better to demolish and move on. No cultural mission. Vanderbilt mansions were built for social competition, not cultural legacy. No serious art collections sold off. No educational purpose. Pure vanity projects with no public benefit. Lack of planning. Families never planned for eventual disposition. Assumed heirs would maintain forever. No trusts, no endowments, no long-term vision. When crisis came, only option was demolition. The Frick strategy: build your memorial. Henry Clay. Frick understood something the Vanderbilts didn't. Immortality requires planning. His approach: build a museum-quality collection during your lifetime. Design the building for its eventual public use. Create an endowment sufficient for perpetual operations. Make the transition legally binding and simple. Accept that private use is temporary, public legacy is permanent. The Carnegie strategy. Philanthropic consistency. Andrew Carnegie preached the gospel of wealth. The rich have a duty to give away their fortunes. His mansion donation was consistent with his values. Live modestly, relatively. His mansion was restrained by Gilded Age standards. Donate to institutions that will benefit public. Libraries, universities, museums. Provide operating funds, not just buildings. Make philanthropy central to legacy. The Rockefeller strategy, not Fifth Avenue, but relevant. John D. Rockefeller Jr. took a different approach. Don't build massive private mansions. Instead, fund public institutions and spaces. Created Rockefeller Center, commercial but public serving. Donated land for UN headquarters, Colonial Williamsburg restoration, etc. Legacy through public works rather than private palaces. The perfect storm of preservation factors. Right person, Frick was a planner, not a showman. He thought decades ahead. Right design, Thomas Hastings created a building that could function as both home and museum. Right collection, museum-quality art from day one. Curated for lasting value, not social competition. Right money. Sufficient endowment to sustain operations perpetually. Right location. Far enough from prime commercial corridor to avoid development pressure. Right timing. Transition happened quickly and cleanly. No decades of decay. Right heirs. Helen Clay Frick devoted her life to preserving father's legacy. Served on board until 1984. Right values from the start. This was about cultural legacy, not social dominance. Right scale, 40 rooms, not 137. Manageable, not monumental. Right luck. The building survived New York City's urban renewal, zoning changes, economic pressures that destroyed most others. The Vanderbilt mansions were bigger, more expensive, more spectacular, and every single one was demolished within 50 years. The Frick mansion was more modest, more restrained, more purposeful, and it will likely stand for centuries. The difference? Vision beyond ego. When you visit the Frick collection or walk Fifth Avenue today, The official narratives omit the 19 to 28 workers who died building these mansions between 1878 and 1920. Their names, when recorded at all, Giovanni Russo, Patrick O'Brien, Marco Benedetti, Thomas Walsh, James Crawford, and 14 to 23 others whose names are lost. The 500 to 800 families displaced from the Fifth Avenue corridor between 1878 and 1920 to make room for mansions. Working-class Irish, German, and African-American communities erased from the neighborhood. Catherine Murphy, age 19, scullery maid who jumped from a fifth-floor window at the Astor Mansion in 1898 and survived permanently injured. The circumstances remain unclear. The reason remains hidden. The financial desperation behind Alice Vanderbilt's decision to demolish the 137-room mansion in 1927. Official story: she didn't need such a large house. Reality: operating costs were consuming her fortune. Her children wouldn't help. She had no choice. The servant strike of 1902 at the Astor Mansion, the kitchen walkout of 1905 at William K. Vanderbilt's, and the failed unionization attempt of 1912, all suppressed, all nearly forgotten. The forced marriage of Consuelo Vanderbilt to the Duke of Marlborough in 1895. Tour guides mention she married a duke. They don't mention her mother. Alva threatened suicide and locked Consuelo in her room for days. The $2.5 million dowry, worth $88 million today, was essentially a purchase price. The transformation from vision to reality. The Vanderbilt mansions were supposed to be architectural triumphs and symbols of cultured refinement. In reality, they were cold, drafty, impossible to heat, impractical to live in, and profoundly unhappy places for many who inhabited them, family and servants alike. The complete failure of the Gilded Age mansion model. Within 50 years of construction, 90% plus were demolished. They were economically unsustainable, architecturally impractical, and socially embarrassing. The dream lasted less than 2 generations. Human lives, construction deaths, 19 to 28, confirmed and estimated. Named: Giovanni Russo, Patrick O'Brien, Marco Benedetti, Thomas Walsh, James Crawford. 1 unnamed Vanderbilt mansion collapse, possibly 13 to 22 others. Construction injuries, hundreds, broken bones, amputations, respiratory damage from stone dust, all without compensation. Servant deaths and injuries, Catherine Murphy's jump or fall, unknown number of other incidents. Premature deaths from working conditions, tuberculosis, exhaustion, untreated illness among servant population. Family psychological casualties, multiple cases of depression, addiction, suicide across Vanderbilt and peer families. Total human cost, impossible to fully quantify, but at least 25 to 35 deaths directly attributable, hundreds of ruined lives, communities destroyed or displaced, families displaced 500 to 800, estimated 2,500 to 4,000 individuals. Small businesses closed, 150 to 200. Churches relocated or destroyed, at least 3 confirmed. Cemetery disruptions, at least 1, Madison Square Presbyterian Church Cemetery. Approximately 300 graves. African American community in West 60s completely dispersed. Irish and German working-class neighborhoods erased. Total community cost, an entire neighborhood's social fabric destroyed. Environmental impact, trees removed, thousands along 3-mile stretch. Green space eliminated, small parks, yards, gardens replaced with stone and pavement. Water and drainage patterns disrupted by massive construction. Heat island effect created by replacing vegetation with stone buildings. Total environmental cost, permanent alteration of urban ecosystem. Financial costs. Construction phase, 1878 to 1920. Total spent on approximately 40 mansions. Approximately $150 million, $4.5 billion today. This wealth concentrated in architectural monuments rather than productive investment. Operating phase, 1880 to 1930. Average annual operating cost per mansion, $200,000 to $400,000. Over 50 years, 10 to 20 million per mansion. Across 40 mansions, $400 to $800 million, 14 to 28 billion today. This wealth consumed annually to maintain empty showpieces. Demolition phase, 1925 to 1960. Demolition costs $300,000 to $1 million per mansion. Total, $12 to $40 million, $420 million to $1.4 billion today. Paying to destroy what cost fortunes to build. Opportunity cost. If the $150 million construction cost had been invested at 5% annual return, conservative, from 1890 to 1930, approximately $650 million, $22.75 billion today. Instead, total loss, buildings demolished, zero return, total financial cost, over $1 billion 1880 to 1930 dollars, approximately 35 plus billion today, spent to build monuments that lasted one generation. Social costs, inequality made visible, enormous wealth concentrated in private palaces while workers lived in tenements, labor exploitation, servants working 16 to 18-hour days for wages below poverty level, social dysfunction, families destroyed by wealth, pressure, expectations, cultural distortion, resources directed toward private excess instead of public good, total social cost, incalculable damage to social cohesion and values, personal costs, family tragedies. Cornelius Vanderbilt II died age 55 from stress and overwork. Reginald Vanderbilt, destroyed by inherited wealth, died age 45 from alcoholism. Consuelo Vanderbilt, forced marriage, years of unhappiness. Alice Vanderbilt, 15 years as prisoner in 137-room mansion. Multiple suicides, addictions, depression cases in subsequent generations. Total personal cost. Wealth destroyed the families it was supposed to benefit. Beautiful, but built on suffering. The Frick collection is genuinely magnificent, a perfect jewel of art and architecture. The paintings are masterpieces. The rooms are exquisite. And it was built by workers earning $1.50 per day, living in tenements, risking death on scaffolding without safety equipment. James Crawford fell to his death at age 42, so Henry Clay Frick could have a perfect neoclassical palace. Can we appreciate the beauty while acknowledging the cost? Must we? The building doesn't apologize for how it was built. Should it? Preserved but transformed beyond recognition. The Frick Mansion survives, unlike the Vanderbilt palaces. But is it still Frick's house? The family quarters are now galleries. The courtyard has a modern glass roof. HVAC systems hide in the walls. 275,000 strangers walk through annually. Helen Clay Frick devoted her life to preservation. But what exactly did she preserve? The stones? The art? Or just an idea of what her father intended? The Vanderbilt mansions are gone completely. But at least they were honestly gone. The Frick survives as a beautiful ghost, authentic in feeling, but transformed in function. Family-owned, but public spectacle. From the moment the Vanderbilts built their Fifth Avenue palaces, they were public spectacles. Newspapers covered every detail. Crowds gathered outside during balls. The families claimed privacy, but built for visibility. They wanted to be seen, admired, envied. Now the survivors are genuinely public. Anyone can enter for the price of admission. But the spectacle is carefully managed, curated, sanitized. The raw ego and competition that built these places is softened into cultural heritage. The truth is messier than the tour scripts admit. Conservation icon, but created through displacement. The Frick collection is praised for art conservation, historic preservation, cultural stewardship. All true. But the mansion exists on land acquired by displacing working families. The art was purchased with steel and coke money, industries notorious for brutal labor practices. Frick himself was involved in the Homestead Strike of 1892, where workers died. Can a building built on displacement become a symbol of preservation? It already has. The contradiction stands. Architectural triumph, but maintenance nightmare. The Cornelius Vanderbilt II mansion was called the greatest private residence in America. Architectural journals praised its scale and craftsmanship. It was also freezing in winter, boiling in summer, impossible to modernize, and prohibitively expensive to operate. It stood for 48 years before being demolished as economically unsustainable. Triumph or failure? Both. The architecture achieved its aesthetic goals while failing every practical test. Beauty and dysfunction coexisted. Built for immortality but demolished within 50 years. The Vanderbilts built for the ages. They imported European architectural traditions designed to last centuries. They used the finest materials. They spent fortunes. And they failed. Almost every mansion was demolished within one generation of its builder's death. Only Frick and Carnegie succeeded in building for immortality, and only because they accepted that immortality required public access and institutional support. Private immortality was impossible. The Vanderbilts learned this too late. Walk down Fifth Avenue today, between 51st and 96th Streets. Your tour guide, if you have one, will point to Bergdorf Goodman and mention, "That's where the Vanderbilt mansion stood." They'll gesture toward a glass office tower and say, "Astor Mansion, demolished 1926. They'll take you to the Frick collection and tell you about Henry Clay Frick's art collection. What they won't tell you, but now you know, you're walking through a graveyard of mansions that cost fortunes to build and lasted barely 40 years. You're walking past the sites where Giovanni Russo and Marco Benedetti fell to their deaths. You're standing where 500 to 800 families once lived before being displaced by Millionaire's ambitions. You're looking at buildings that replace palaces, that replace communities. The guide still won't mention Catherine Murphy's jump from the 5th floor window. They won't discuss the servants working 18-hour days in attic rooms without heat. They won't explain why Alice Vanderbilt called her 137-room palace my prison. They won't tell you that by 1940, Millionaire's Row had become retail stores and apartment buildings, the mansions as thoroughly erased as the working-class neighborhoods they had replaced. You're walking through America's Gilded Age dream and through the evidence that the dream was unsustainable, impractical, and built on suffering. Concentrated wealth can accomplish remarkable things: architectural masterpieces, art collections, technological innovations. But it cannot sustain itself indefinitely. The Vanderbilt fortune, the greatest in American history for its time, lasted 3 generations. The mansions lasted barely longer. Wealth built for display rather than purpose is inherently temporary. The Frick collection is genuinely beautiful. The Cornelius Vanderbilt's second mansion was genuinely magnificent. But beauty has a price beyond money. Workers died, families were displaced, communities were destroyed, servants lived in misery. Can we separate the aesthetic achievement from the human cost? Should we? The buildings don't answer these questions. We must. We remember the Vanderbilts, the Fricks, the Astors. We forget Giovanni Russo, Catherine Murphy, Thomas Walsh, and the 19 to 28 other construction workers who died. We forget the 500 to 800 displaced families. We forget the 2,000 to 2,500 servants. History is written by the wealthy, but the wealthy couldn't have built their monuments without the forgotten. The Frick Mansion survives because Henry Clay Frick accepted that preservation requires transformation. Private dreams must become public property to endure. The Vanderbilt mansions died because the families believed private wealth could sustain private monuments forever. They were wrong. The price of immortality is surrender of control. Frick's mansion is no longer Frick's. It belongs to everyone who enters. That's the only reason it still stands. The Vanderbilts tried to keep their palaces private and lost everything. The lesson: monuments outlive their creators only by serving purposes beyond their creators' intentions. Does the beauty of the Frick collection justify the cost of its creation? No simple answer exists. The building stands. The workers are dead. Both facts are permanent. Was Henry Clay Frick a villain or a visionary? He broke strikes violently. He collected art magnificently. He created a museum that serves the public. He exploited workers brutally, all true simultaneously. Should we celebrate Fifth Avenue's Gilded Age? We can appreciate the architectural ambition while mourning the human cost. We can recognize the artistic achievement while condemning the inequality that made it possible. We can visit the Frick collection, while remembering James Crawford's death. Were the Vanderbilts victims of their own success or cautionary tales of excess? Both. They achieved everything they set out to achieve: wealth, social dominance, architectural monuments, and discovered that none of it brought happiness or lasted beyond their lifetimes. Should we mourn the demolished mansions or celebrate their removal? They were architectural treasures and economically absurd white elephants. They represented craftsmanship and exploitation. Their demolition was cultural loss and economic necessity. The contradiction cannot be resolved. This story has no moral, only facts. The mansions existed. Most are gone. Some survived, transformed. People died building them. Families died living in them. Communities died to make room for them. The beauty was real. The cost was real. Both deserve recognition. If you found this story compelling, consider subscribing for more investigations into the hidden histories of America's monuments. Like this video if you believe that understanding the full cost of beauty, human, financial, social, matters. Have you visited the Frick Collection or walked down Fifth Avenue? Did you know this history? Does knowing it change how you see these places? Should museums like the Frick Collection acknowledge more explicitly the human cost of their creation? Or is the art and preservation work they do now sufficient redemption? What modern equivalents exist today? Are we building monuments that our grandchildren will demolish as economically absurd? Comment below. What surprised you most about this story? What would you want to know more about? Next time, the dark story of Newport's Marble House, Alva Vanderbilt's $11 million birthday present, $387 million today, that she used as a weapon in her war against society, her husband, and ultimately her own daughter. Or the dark story of the Homestead Strike, Henry Clay Frick's other legacy, the one that doesn't hang on museum walls. The mansions of Millionaire's Row represented the pinnacle of American wealth and ambition. They were built to last forever. Within one generation, nearly all were demolished. The families who built them spent over $4.5 billion in today's money creating monuments to their own greatness. The monuments failed. Only 2 survive, and they survive because their creators understood something the Vanderbilts never learned. Immortality requires letting go. Private dreams become permanent only when they transform into public property. The Frick Collection stands not because Henry Clay Frick held on, but because he planned to let go. The Vanderbilts spent more, built bigger, competed harder, and lost everything. Their mansions are dust, their fortune is scattered, their dynasty ended. The name survives, but the power is gone. And walk down Fifth Avenue. Look at the office towers and luxury shops. Somewhere beneath your feet are the foundations of Cornelius Vanderbilt II's 137-room palace. Somewhere in the pavement are the crushed stones of William K. Vanderbilt's French chateau. The palaces are gone. The workers who built them are forgotten. The families who were displaced are erased from history. But the Frick Collection opens its doors every day. 275,000 people visit annually. They see Rembrandt and Vermeer, Fragonard and Gainsborough. They walk through rooms that Henry Clay Frick designed as his home and his legacy. The building survives because it serves a purpose beyond the ego of its creator. That's the lesson. Build for yourself alone, and what you build will die with you. Build for something larger, and you might achieve immortality. The Vanderbilts built for social dominance. They got 40 years. Frick built for cultural legacy. He got forever. The irony is complete. The richest family in American history, the Vanderbilts, left nothing permanent on Fifth Avenue. The man who came later, Henry Clay Frick, who understood that permanence requires purpose beyond self, created something that will likely stand for centuries. The mansions are gone. The lesson remains. Wealth without wisdom is temporary. Beauty built on suffering carries its own curse. Monuments erected for ego alone cannot survive. Only what serves others outlasts its creator. Walk down Fifth Avenue. Remember what stood here. Remember who built it. Remember who paid the price. Remember that it's all gone now, except the 2 buildings whose creators understood that to keep something forever, you have to give it away. The Gilded Age mansions of Fifth Avenue rose in 30 years and fell in 30 more. The greatest concentration of private wealth in American history built monuments that couldn't survive 2 generations. Some called it progress. Some called it waste. History calls it a warning. The palaces are dust. The workers are forgotten. The families moved on. But the story endures. The story of what happens when unlimited wealth meets human ambition, when architectural dreams collide with economic reality, when private monuments face the test of time. This is what they don't tell you on the Fifth Avenue tours. This is the hidden history of Millionaire's Row. This is the price of the Gilded Age, measured not just in dollars, but in lives, in communities, in human cost. Now you know. The next time you walk past Bergdorf Goodman or visit the Frick Collection, you'll see what others miss. The ghosts of 40 demolished palaces, the shadows of 28 dead workers, the echoes of 800 displaced families, the weight of history that no tour guide mentions. The mansions are gone, but their story, the complete story, the honest story, deserves to be told. And now it has been.